Welcome to Genealogy Coffee Break, brought to you by us, the librarians at the Center for Jewish History. My name is Sarah Belasco, and I'm here with my colleagues and other library staff. Today, we'll show you where you can't find family documents in our Displaced Persons Camp collections at the Center for Jewish History. During today's episode, feel free to send us your questions via the comments box, and we'll answer them live. If we don't get to your question or you're not watching live, you can always email your questions to us at gi@cgh.org. If you have friends or family who are interested in watching this program, please share it with them. Did you know that we offer free Zoom workshops? These are offered to community groups from nonprofit organizations, religious organizations, and schools, and they don't have to be Jewish. Topics range from online genealogy basics to preserving your family photos and documents. For Jewish groups, workshops can be tailored to specific regions of the diaspora, including Ashkenazi, Sephardi, and Mizrahi. But first, some history. Displaced person camps provided care to thousands of former inmates of Nazi concentration camps and forced labor units. Camp residents also included Holocaust survivors who did not wish to return to their country of origin. The camps, which existed from 1945 until 1953, provided temporary shelter, health, cultural, educational, and financial programs, and immigration services. They were administered by the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration. In 1947, the International Refugee Organization took over the task of caring for the DPs and assisting them with the immigration process. The primary financial support for the camps came from the American Joint Distribution Committee, universally known as the Joint. Other Jewish international organizations, such as the Organization for Rehabilitation Through Training, the Jewish Agency, and the World Jewish Congress, also assisted refugees. There are three key understandings that we need to go over. The first is that the YIVO displaced persons camps in Germany, Italy, and Austria collections have not been digitized, except for the poster and photograph collections. This means that you cannot access the documents from home. Next, many people ask about marriages and births in DP camps, specifically looking for birth and marriage certificates. For Germany, the short answer is no. Supposedly, births and marriages should and could have been registered in the local German town, but probably for practical and emotional reasons, nobody did that. It can't hurt for people to look, but I've never heard of anyone finding such a civil record. Possibly the army had records, but I've also never heard of records kept in NARA, the National Archives. The weddings were probably just religious ceremonies, and probably refugees were scared that if they registered births or marriages, they would have less chance of getting out of another country. They weren't planning on staying there, so why get documented there? It is also rare to find complete lists of residents. We have a few lists of residents in the DP camps in Germany and Austria. But if a list is not present in our collections, it is unlikely that you will find one elsewhere. These collections were gathered in the years following the closure of the camps in the early 1950s, and the records are not complete. Today, we'll be discussing resources from the YIVO Displaced Persons collection and from the Arolsen archives. I will now go over how to find the relevant sections of the YIVO collections. Before we start, if you would like a more in-depth explanation of how to navigate archival finding aids, please watch our coffee break episode from September 8th. Between 1945 and 1950, around 40,000 Jewish displaced persons passed through the Italian peninsula. The precise number is difficult to estimate due to continuous new arrivals and departures, as Italy developed into a major assembly center for refugee immigration, both legal and illegal, to Palestine. Their stay in Italy was prolonged by the British anti-immigration policy, which until 1948 barred them from entering Palestine en masse. The DP camps were set up in Italy and cared for by the UNRRA, later the IRO, with supplementary aid from the AJDC and other voluntary organizations. The closing of the camps began in 1948. In that year alone, 20,000 DPs left for Israel. The Central Committee resolved to cease activity on October 1, 1950. The main refugee settlement center was located in Via Unione in Milan. It functioned from 1945 to 1947. From Via Unione, refugees were redirected to the various DP camps in Italy. The DP camps were both mixed camps, where Jewish DPs cohabitated with refugees from various nationalities and also separate Jewish camps. In addition, a few children's homes were created for orphans, the most well-known being Salvino. The Jewish DPs remained in the camps for up to 5 years. The section of this collection that is most likely to have personal information for relatives you are looking for is Series 2, which is outlined on the screen. This comprises the files of the Central Committee Statistics Department. The Statistics Department, among other functions, served as a liaison between the refugees and relatives abroad who searched for them. The correspondence in Series 2 consists mainly of search inquiries from relatives and agencies looking for individual displaced persons. There are no lists of residents, birth certificates, or marriage certificates in this collection. The displaced persons camps and centers in Germany came into existence in 1945 as a result of the liberation of masses of inmates from Nazi concentration camps and forced labor units. Of the nearly 6 million DPs who at the end of the war were found in Central Europe, there were only about 50,000 Jewish survivors. For this collection, you want to look at Series 2 through Series 5. These include the records of 43 local DP centers, such as camps, open communities, and regional committees. The arrangement is alphabetical by the center's name. The contents and quantity of each center's files varied widely, from just a few items to an extensive archive. By far the largest in the latter category are the records from Camp Feldafing, Series 3. Comprising of almost 300 folders, these materials give a detailed picture of a Jewish DP camp, its administration, economy, cultural life, and political activities. Another large camp archive is that of Camp Vohenwald, Series 4. Substantial quantities of records exist, also for Camps Lampertheim, Landsberg, Rochelle, Schwabach, and in the British zone, Bergen-Belsen. For this collection, I highly suggest searching keywords or phrases in the Finding Aid search bar, located on the right side of the page. Some of the smaller DP camps might not have their own separate subseries in the collection. Records for a camp can exist in other places in the collection other than its designated subseries. Try using different spelling variations to account for spelling conventions in different languages and regions. Also, the camps listed in bullet points on the slide have various forms of lists of residents, either in elderly homes, hospitals, schools, or voting registers. There are no birth or marriage certificates in this collection. Austria and Vienna were divided into British, French, American, and Russian zones. Vienna also had an international sector. As elsewhere in liberated Europe, Jewish refugees gravitated towards the US zone, regarding it as a more desirable haven than the territories of the other occupation forces. A transient population, the Jewish DPs looked toward the American army for services and protection, rather than towards the Austrian government. There are no birth or marriage certificates in this collection. Series 1, subseries 1, 2, and 3 which have red arrow next to them on the screen, include the files of Jewish organizations which functioned in Vienna during the post-war period. Relevant materials for looking for family members include membership lists, ID cards, and lists of medical personnel and patients. Series 2 comprises the records of individual DP camps in the American zone of Austria, particularly those near Linz and Salzburg. The camps with the most substantial groupings of materials include Bad Ischl, Enns, Steyr, and Wegscheid-Tyler. The camps bulleted on the slide have various lists of people, including residents, people undergoing medical treatment, students, and employees. Series 4 also consists of miscellaneous materials, such as the personal papers and documents of displaced persons in Vienna and the camps, which is arranged alphabetically. There are 2 digitized DP camp collections at CJH, one for posters and one for photographs. You will not be able to search by personal names to find relatives, but if you want to see what daily life looked like and the kinds of announcement posters there were for events and meetings, it is an excellent place to start. The poster and photograph collections are arranged into 3 groups by country: Germany, Austria, and Italy. The poster collection is further subdivided by organization and camp. For the photograph collection, there are no other categories beside country. It is best to search that collection by keywords such as wedding, school, or a Pacific holiday like Purim. Also, only photographs from Germany and Italy were digitized, or from Germany and Austria were digitized, not Italy. If you don't find what you are looking for in our collections at the Center for Jewish History, another place to look is the Arolsen archives. You can search by camp name or by family name. So we will go to the Arolsen archives now, and some camps have lists of residents that were digitized, but they are not searchable by name. So you have to go through document by document. For example, we'll search Bad Reichenhall. And then here, it comes up with a list of people that were born in Bad Reichenhall. And then under topics is where we can find the lists of people. So for example, let's click on folder 28 and click the plus sign, and then click on the title. And so this is DP Listen Bad Reichenhall Jewish Center. And there are 278 documents and 534 images. So to look through all of the lists in this folder, you will have to go image by image. You will not be able to search by name. But there are lists for it. And if you have a specific family member and if you want to see if there are any documents for them, then you can search their name. Let's go with Abraham Altmark. And so we can see a couple of different people who have come up, which we can tell by their different birth dates. Let's click on Show All Results. And so here we have one Abraham Altmark. He was born in Feldafing. And then we can also have an explanation of where this particular document came from. So this one is an IRO document. And if we scroll down, since it is a single document, it shows up. And we can see the parents' names and his name. And then if we click on the other document for this Abraham Altmark, then we can also see a different document. So this is an AEFDP registration record. And then this has two sides to it, so we can also look at the back. And so it appears that this is a medical clearance certificate. So if you have any questions, you may write to us now via the comments box. If we don't get to your question during this episode, we will respond to you by private message. Or if you're not watching live, please feel free to email us your questions at gi@cjh.org or at inquiries@cjh.org. For updates on this and other Center for Jewish History programs, please join our email list at bit.ly/CJHE-news. If you enjoyed this program, we hope you will consider making a small donation at cjh.org/donate now. Any amount helps us put on programs like this one. Thank you for watching and participating. We look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday for the next episode of Genealogy Coffee Break. Until then, good luck in your search and enjoy your week.